table mathematically.
The first frame. Adam Duffy to break.
So our referee is Rob Spencer. Adam Duffy breaks off, taking on Zhao Xintong, and I'm delighted to say joining me in the commentary box is the 2005 world champion, Shaun Murphy. 17 years ago, Shaun, where did that go? Just to tell you folks, Shaun isn't being ignorant, ignoring my rhetorical question. He's got a technical problem with his microphone, which we will get sorted out in next to no time. New experience this for both of them. Zhao and Duffy have never played before.
Come on.
But Adam Duffy knows all about the reputation of his opponent. Now, when he's on, he's dynamite.
I'm back, Phil.
6.
Told you it would be next to no time.
Tony Drago would have had the frame 1 in that time. What are these two doing?
7.
Well, it's an oft repeated statistic. He has won the quickest ever frame, Tony Drago, 3 minutes against Danny Fowler. Had a 70-plus break. Bish bash bosh, thank you very much.
Yeah, the thing about that never gets mentioned is that 3-minute frame would have involved a break-off, maybe 1 or 2 safety shots from each player, and then a break from Drago. It's absolutely ridiculous.
30.
Never see anything like that again.
Well, of course, when his snooker
40.
career was winding down, Drago became a very good 9-ball pool player. He was the most valuable player in a Mosconi Cup team. He won the World Pool Masters as well. And regularly, he used to run racks, regularly, inside a minute. By the way, that's full racks, not the ones that end quickly with an early combination.
90. $20.
Pretty awkward sequence this. You can see the black tied up, not available into either pocket, I don't think. Where the reds are set. Pink up in the wrong half of the table again makes this extra complicated. Of course, theoretically, you don't need those balls in play. You can use the blue. And keep getting top side of the blue. And by top side, we mean above the line of the middle pockets.
26.
Across that line in the middle of the table. Just as he's finished there, just the ball, the top side of the blue. You keep finishing there, then you can always come back down for the red. So, theoretically, doesn't need the black or pink here. lead extends to 31.
31.
He possesses all the power you would ever need as Zhao Xintong, but he's also got that delicate touch. And I think on this table, which is playing so nicely, being able to float the balls around just to his liking.
If he wants to, he might play for the red directly above the black. He finishes high on it. Would leave him the angle to move the red that's on the black spot in the same shot. No, not from there, but if the cue ball was a few inches further down towards the black cushion, he would have ideal position to play that shot. Not this time.
44.
I wasn't sure if the black went into the right hand corner pocket, but it does. Now he can move the red cover in the spot. And he's taken these very nicely so far. Just needs to get some spin on this cue ball here. Needs to make contact with the red here immediately to his left.
52.
Perfectly played. And now should be a clear run to the line in this frame.
He can be devastating.
59.
We talked about his UK Championship
60.
triumph. That was the breakthrough. But only 8 weeks later, he won the German Masters at the Tempodrome in Berlin and did so in historic fashion.
67.
Whitewashed Yan Bingtao 9-0 in the final. Now, to put that into perspective,
68.
all of the world ranking finals we've had over the years was only the third time a two-session ranking event final had resulted in a whitewash. The players responsible for the other
75.
two, half decent. Steve Davis and Neil Robertson.
76. $83. 84.
Well, what we do know is if this form that he's showing here today is a sign of things to come for the rest of the season, then he could very well add a few more trophies
92. Thank you.
to that tally by the time things are totaled up by the end of the year.
Assuming this goes in, have you ever seen a
99.
century compiled with such consummate ease?
100. $105.
Made a 105 break in the first session. And it's going to stop on exactly the same figure this time because the cue ball just bounced slightly too much for position on the yellow. What a start though from Zhao Xintong. He's a player who has no limit, it seems to me, to be how good he can. He leads 1-0 against Adam Duffy, who has got a really tough task to pull this around.
The champion of champions.
He looked like he had it won. He looked like he lost it.
You can't say that's the killer blow. Well, you can say it was a hammer blow.
Two devastating breaks. He's on the brink.
101 for O'Sullivan. He's got a frame on the board. He looked mighty good in doing it.
What a way to open your account for the season. I get the feeling it will not be his last trophy this campaign.
Snooker's top players
The second
make
frame.
the game, which
Zhao
is
Xintong to break.
extremely difficult, as millions will tell you, they make the game look preposterously easy. A classic example of that was the way Zhao won the first frame in this match. A break of 105. That's his second century of the day, and right now, everything, Sean, is going according to plan.
Yeah, that was very, very good, that first frame. Great control of the cue ball. It was what was an awkward break, with the black being tied up for the majority of it and the pink being at the wrong end of the table. Adam Duffy hasn't done a great deal wrong yet at all. That long red wasn't far off, but he has left
What?
an immediate chance here for Zhao, who, as we say, looks in great form. Now I'm sure he'll choose to play the split here and play this with topspin and a touch of right hand side. Doesn't want to play it with too much topspin because it's easy to arc around the back of reds. Yeah. Actually does the reverse of what you think. That you think you need the topspin to get into the reds. Actually, the too much topspin pushes the cue ball wide, as we see here
8.
on the replay. He has too much spin on it. He actually misses, goes round the pack. You need to play those shots with a bit more of a dead cue ball, more down towards the middle.
Really good call, Sean, and really good insight as well.
Thick on the safety shot there. Just, you need to skim those reds really thin. He has left this red that's popped out of the pack. It's going to be awkward queuing over the yellow. Choosing against it, choosing this red. I don't think he's going to go for this red. Wow.
Well,
Ridiculous. That was very, very high tariff. Was leaving reds had he have missed it. I didn't think he was going to play that. Thought he was going to play safe, but I guess that shows the confidence of the young man now. Rob Spencer just checking to see if there's room for the black on its own spot. And there mustn't be, as he's checking the pink spot. It's very congested in there. You need a very calm hand, steady hand to do that job.
thanks. 8.
So that's messed things up a little bit. He might even play for the green here just to get the green out of the way.
9.
Yeah, that's a little bit short, but shouldn't be a problem to use the red next door as the bumper to hold. Amazing how different players see the break differently. I would have had to have played the cannon there. Zhao preferring to play it with topspin on and
12.
off the cushion. Same difference.
Zhao Xintong
That's
12.
That's an element of Zhao's game that is going to require work. It plagued him for a few years. Yes, he's had mega success winning the UK Championships and German Masters. And he's a fantastic player to watch. But that elementary miss has always been and is still in his game. He wants to really scale the heights of this great game of ours. He is going to have to iron those silly little mistakes out.
Thanks, Alan. 1.
That really was a cracking pot with the rest. Took a chance going into the reds, couldn't avoid them. See, playing it with right hand side. Screwing into the reds. Screw kept the cue ball out of the pack. He's on this pink. How's his kiss going to be? Is he going to hit this red on the cushion? Finished a bit twixt in between. Played for the red near the black spot. Not sure if he overhit it or underhit it. You have to ask him, but he wants to play the red to the right of the cue ball into the bottom right hand corner. That's a very difficult pot along the cushion. It's even more difficult mentally when you know you should have been in an easier position than this. Sometimes hard to steady the ship.
8.
Oh, that's first class. That really was nice.
He was off the tour for 4 years, Adam Duffy. Relegated in 2018, returned a month or so ago through Q School. He was actually working as a bricklayer. Hadn't practiced a great deal for Q School, didn't go there with any massive expectations, but everything fell into place, unlike that positional shot.
13.
He's very unlucky here. I mean, you can see the way the balls are shaped there. The cue ball was always going to slide off and go this way. On another day, he could have knocked both reds over both corner pockets there. Now he's eyeing this plant up. And this is very high tariff. Oh, but that
40.
is a fabulous shot. He's very, very talented player, is Adam Duffy. Very, very talented. Very creative player.
At Q School, in the final match to gain his card, he defeated a
90.
good friend of his from Wales, a former World Ranking Event semi-finalist, Daniel Wells, 4-3. He was 3-2 down on frame 6 on the black, and then added the decider.
Aaron Duffy 90.
Yeah, well, a bit like Zhao Xintong a few shots ago. Those kind of simple, easy misses are going to have to come out of his game. I think he actually hit the wrong side of that. As we said in his previous match, you can just see here, playing it with the right-hand side, push the cue ball offline, the wrong side of that red. Does cue down very steeply into the back of the ball, does Adam, and not what textbooks would tell you to do. It's something that he's taught himself. Not easy to control the cue ball on these cloths, on these conditions, when you're striking down on it so much. If you watch this shot, you'll notice his back arm, his grip hand is significantly higher than his bridge hand. The incline of the cue is very steep.
Yeah, I hadn't seen him play for a while when I watched his match earlier today, and maybe it's just my perception, but I thought his cue action was slightly different to when I remembered him being on the circuit for the first time.
Yeah, I think he's always had a very close bridge hand, and he's got that very distinctive right elbow position. That previous camera shot there gave you a good shot of how steep the cue attacks the cue ball, which is absolutely fine. You know, all players have different idiosyncrasies in their swing, but that is going to cause him problems on these tables. It won't matter so much, you know, playing in clubs and exhibitions and things, but competing on the main tour under these conditions with this cloth and these balls, that's going to cause him some problems. So something to think about. Holds the cue a long way towards the back as well, and as I say, that's something that might have come from playing in clubs a lot.
1.
Good pot for 1.
I remember back when I used to live in Sheffield. I lived there for a few years of my life, and I would have spent a lot of time with Adam. I knew him quite well, and he was just a young man then. In the, from 2004 to 2008, he would have been quite young and just sort of starting his snooker journey. But he was always going to be a pro. He always had it in him to be. He was the best player and the best of his crop from Sheffield and that part of the country at the time. Very, very good hard worker at his game. And as I say, very gifted.
What?
You can be as gifted as you want. If your opponent flukes a shot like that, there's nothing he can do about that. And that may well cost him this frame. Very unlucky.
When a player as good as Zhao Xintong flukes the ball, it's almost
5.
unfair. Part of the game, yes, we know, but I used this analogy a couple of times last season in commentary. Someone like him fluking a ball is a little bit like a millionaire winning the lottery. Mind you, the old Gary Player quote about the more I practice, the luckier I get. I think that does apply in snooker, because throughout the 80s, you heard players moaning about the fact that Steve Davis had so much luck, and then that moan was repeated in the 90s about Stephen Hendry. Oh, they're lucky.
90.
No. We were just talking
20.
about Tony Drago, actually. And you might not know this, Sean, but Drago was a very scared flyer. And so when we went to overseas tournaments, wouldn't travel either out there or on the way back unless he could guarantee that
26.
Steve Davis or Stephen Hendry was on his flight, because he thought they were so lucky nothing would happen to them.
27.
.33 points ahead after what's been a nice break so far following that fluke.
33.
So needs 2 of these 3 remaining reds.
34.
As he pots this pink, he'll be 40 points ahead with just 43 remaining, so he'll only need to pot the red. Doesn't need to worry about getting on a colour.
False. 41. Zhao Xintong 41.
41 the difference, 35 on. Duffy needs a couple of snookers, or perhaps 1 snooker and a free ball. Duffy concedes with Zhao at the table. And so,
on the frame.
He's up against a man who spent the last few years as a bricklayer. As for Zhao, well, he's laying the foundations for progress into the second phase of this Bedvictor Championship League. He's won his first match 3-0, and he's 2-0 ahead in this one. So far today, 5 frames
The third
played
frame. Adam Duffy to break.
by Zhao Xintong. Actually, 6 frames played, and he's won 5 of them. He beat Michael Holt 3-1 earlier, and now he's on the verge of another 3 points here.
One.
Wow, that's a fabulous pot. Again, speaking to the natural talent that he no doubt possesses. Very, very gifted player. And he floated this red. This was Mark Williams-esque. Good clever shot as well. Had he have missed it, he wouldn't have been leaving anything. And that's a better shot than it looked. Played with a lot of check side, right hand side in this case, to bring the cue ball back between the yellow and brown, having gone up there originally. Cue ball would have hit the yellow on the way back, but for the side spin that he put on the ball.
Cheers, Adam. Thank you.
He's just short of pace this time, though. He needs to be at the top of the side of the blue, as we said before. And
Sam.
black not available, pink not available. Something will have to be moved soon if this breaks to continue. Might be able to pop the blue in the middle with lots of left-hand side and get something moving. Now he's going deep on the cue ball, playing something else. He's lost the cue ball slightly here. Needs a bit of good fortune.
12.
Now is he on that red? He is. His body language suggests he is.
$30.
Top side of the blue this time. It's fine. Now, do either of those 2 reds above the black pot into this bottom left-hand corner? If they do, might play for one of them now. And I just wonder, having finished perfectly on those 2 reds, can he dislodge
8.
the red away from the black? And could be away here in this frame. No, wasn't
90.
there. Finish wrong side of the blue again. We call this the snowball effect in break building. It starts very small, problem. Shot after shot, you just lose the cue ball until eventually you've got this big mountainous snowball rolling down the hill. Catches up with you and you either miss or run out of position.
It can't be a mountainous snowball if it's rolling down a hill. It's either one thing or the other.
I'd just like to clarify, I didn't invent the saying. Well, I am repeating it at every opportunity, but the point still
24.
stands. He's finally ran out of position, couldn't retrieve it. Didn't mean to hit the yellow. That mountainous snowball got in his way. And that was very close, but perhaps a step too far, that shot.
24.
Unless he's got away with it behind the blue. His turn for a bit of good fortune, maybe.
One.
It really has been fantastic to see Zhao come through as a double ranking titleist last season. And of course, Yan Bingtao winning the Masters as well. Really is a shame because of the COVID-19 pandemic that since they've
6.
become 2 real stars of the game, they've not had the opportunity, Sean, to ply their trade on home soil.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess that's something
Sam.
that certainly the European players and British players take for granted to some degree. Been a very, very strange and challenging last couple of years for everybody with the pandemic. But you're absolutely right. You know, the Far East and China play such a big role in the success of our tour, and you know, the guys have done really, really well in winning those championships, as you say, and to not have had the chance to show the home crowds there in China and in their home cities their success, and have those, a bit like the football teams do here, have those, you know, open top bus tour moments, parading trophies and the like. Let's hope that it's not too far away, those days where we can get back out there and they can receive the fanfare that they no doubt deserve.
70.
What a tremendous shot this was. Cue ball and black so close together, having to use the rest made it look so easy.
80.
Another point worth making, with Zhao and Yan Bingtao doing so well, if the World Cup was resurrected right now, Ding Junhui would be in the China B team.
25. 26.
I think one of the other things, you know, for any young players watching this, anyone trying to forge a career in snooker, I guess in any sport, you know, it's very easy after you have success of any kind to rest on your laurels a little bit. And of course,
33.
well documented in the academies that these lads practice in Sheffield under their watchful eye of Victoria. Well, that's a monster kick. Absolute monster kick, costing that red. Not, he's just inspecting the cue ball there. What I was going to say was that, you know, it's not really the way they do things. You know, they practice so hard, and you know, just a few days after winning the UK champs, he would have been back in the academy working on his game, and it's no surprise that just a few weeks later he won the German Masters. They really do work hard.
Well, talking of that German Masters, and this isn't urban myth, it is definitely the truth. The day after Yan Bingtao lost 9-0 to Zhao, Yan Bingtao was back practicing. Just lost a final 9-0. Next day, straight in there. Both of them are so dedicated, and they're reaping the rewards. Although that safety wasn't too clever.
One.
That was very nice. There wasn't much room up the top end of the table there, because Adam likes to get his bridge hand very close to the cue ball. As you can see, there's not much room for that there under that cushion. So to play that is a lovely, nice long follow through the cue ball. Spun the cue ball very well there.
Adam Duffy.
Really, that is, unless that was a heavy contact, which I don't think it was. It's a really bad miss. Well, cue ball is being clean, so I think we'll give him the benefit of the doubt there.
For Sean, and you can watch this on YouTube if you want to, you suffered one of the biggest kicks anyone's ever seen. It went sideways.
I remember it was in the Paul Hunter Classic, and I think the object ball actually went the wrong way. It was like a half ball shot to this bottom left-hand corner pocket, and yeah, it was an absolute monster. It's very easy to sound like a broken record, but of course, you know, you can see the chalk that Zhao's using.
7.
It's not the reduced friction brand, the Towan brand that
8.
a lot of us use. And you can see the dust and the chalk dust on the table, the debris that's littering the bays. And that is what causes kicks. We now know that. It's not an old wives' tale anymore. We know that increased friction is what causes kicks and big bounces off cushions.
40.
Really, you know, unless players are being
50.
paid to endorse a particular chalk brand, don't really understand any player who hasn't made the switch.
Yeah, the majority of tour players now using the
21.
chalk from Finland, which has undoubtedly
22.
revolutionised the game. Kicks, as we've seen in this frame, haven't been eradicated, but they've been radically reduced.
27.
No kick there,
28.
and it's frame and match ball in.
Zhao Xintong 28.
Maybe just a lapse of concentration. Is that going to be costly? Had the thing gone in, I'm sure that Duffy would have conceded. As it is, he's 34 behind with 25 on.
Adam Duffy 2.
Well, that's a nice shot. First glance, it's quite hard to hit. Come round 2, maybe 3 cushions this way. Doesn't want to hit the pink. That would change things. Nice shot. Very nice shot. That's the problem with laying snookers, isn't it? He's chasing, I think, 3 snookers here. To get those 3 snookers, you probably have to lay a dozen.
Cheers, Alan. Thank you.
Always remember a China Open semi-final between Ding and Gary Wilson. Went to a decider. Ding needed multiple snookers. He laid one after the other, but to no avail. That's the point. We say he needs 3 snookers. What we should say is that he needs 3 successful snookers, and that's an entirely different kettle of fish.
3.
All a moot
Frank,
point now
in the
because
match.
the green goes
Zhao
in.
Xintong.
Adam Duffy walks forward to offer his hand in concession. And so,
I'll just check.
the
Just give
day
me a
of
second.
Zhao Xintong keeps getting better. He's had a century break in both of his matches. He beat Michael Holt 3-1 first time out. There, it was a very comprehensive 3-0 win over Adam Duffy. And Zhao reclaims top place in the table. Next up, Duffy remains out there to take on Holt.